to the extent that Trump will try to now own this and say, oh, well, I said they should release it against your will. You were forced to do it by Thomas Massie, who everybody in MAGA, Cat Turd and everybody has been attacking. He did it against his will. And this is where the Trump base overpowered Trump and Trump's GOP. That's the goal. That's the game we need to be willing to play.
Nick Fuentes just called MAGA defiance of Trump in relation to the Epstein scandal and the Epstein document release a blueprint for America First. So in this clip, he gets into how, notwithstanding all the elements of the Epstein story, this type of incident is a lesson for how to be strategic about undermining corruption, even if it comes from the GOP and the MAGA base. So let's watch. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
This is why, by the way, Trump and loyalty to the GOP is not the end-all, be-all. Supporting Trump and the GOP does not give us leverage. It does nothing for us. No bargaining power. No power to make an ask. And what happened in this Epstein saga is that a handful of MAGA Republicans dragged Trump by his collar, kicking and screaming all along the way. Think about it. For the past 4 months, Trump has unleashed an attack on Thomas Massie. Brutal attack. And on social media, the cadre of pro-Trump influencers attack Massie for everything. And Trump attacks him on True Social, and the Israel lobby spending money. But Massie and 3 other Republicans, Boebert, Green, and Nancy Mace, God bless them. I have my disagreements with all of them, but they're heroes today. They dragged Trump kicking and screaming on behalf of his own base, their constituents, to do the one thing that challenges the whole political order, which is to release the files. That's a blueprint for the future. And arguably, this is the moment when America First demonstrates that it has legs. This is what Trumpism has to give birth to, which is we're not looking to win control over the GOP. We're looking to totally alter the GOP. We're looking to fundamentally replace the GOP.
Yeah, it's interesting. As a radical libertarian, I've never agreed with Nick Fuentes more than what he just said there. And that's true. Those 4 heroes stood within the Republican Party and defied Trump on the thing he most wanted to conceal, the transparency he didn't want to give us, using every trick in the book to do that for 11 months. Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert are way too pro-Israel for my taste, but they are heroic for this. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie are the best 2 congressmen by far. That's why they are being targeted by the Republican establishment, by Donald Trump, why he's trying to primary them. Miriam Adelson's trying to primary Massie. No, that's why Donald Trump called Marjorie Taylor Greene a traitor. As to whether the Epstein document release really will undermine the political order, I definitely have my doubts. I think they'll redact a lot of information, conceal a lot of information, classify it, say it's a national security risk. We know what that means, by the way. It means connections between Epstein and Israel. There's more there. More than even has been uncovered in the last month that we've talked about on this channel. But at the same time, I think Nick's right. That does show what's possible from within the corrupt GOP for actual virtuous actors, even if they're in a minority faction, to really fight back in a tangible way. It could be a blueprint for the future.
And this now has legs. Now you have a handful of MAGA congressmen or America First congressmen. Now you have a blueprint for how this could be used in the future. So this is a remarkable achievement. It cannot be overstated, and it shouldn't be understated. People go around and they say, oh, the Epstein files don't matter. Who knows what we'll find in the Epstein files? I'm sure they're actually going to restrict it anyway, to tell you the truth. Will we learn anything interesting in the files? Who knows if the DOJ will even follow the law? There's a provision in the bill that says, well, if there's a national security concern, you don't have to release it anyway. So who knows what we'll actually get? The point is the mode, the method. The point is the politics. It's a proof of concept. And the gravity of it, again, to the extent that Trump will try to now own this and say, oh, well, I said they should release it against your will. You were forced to do it by Thomas Massie, who everybody in MAGA, Cat Turd and everybody has been attacking. He did it against his will. And this is where the Trump base overpowered Trump and Trump's GOP. That's the goal. And that just goes to show all these people that say, well, you know, if we win the election, then we'll talk about it on Twitter. All these political operators, self-described, they didn't deliver this.
That's exactly right. This is so true. This was because of Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene's dedication to this. It wasn't because of any other force. It was despite the pressures that he's talking about from the GOP establishment and Trump cultists like Cat Turd that this happened. Despite the fact that they threw everything they could at Massie, a primary challenge, calling MTG a traitor, you know, even on social media, you know, talking about, oh, he married a new wife a year and a half after the death of his first wife. Like that was some own, when it's Trump saying that. And his promiscuous, you know, infidelity is pretty documented, by the way. It's pretty funny for him to say that. Pretty ironic, actually. And all of his supporters coming up with these zany conspiracy theories like Thomas Massie's been replaced by a clone and all this nonsense that the Zionist lobby went to in grasping for straws to try to stop this. Why? They're covering up a child sex trafficking ring that was likely part of an Israeli blackmail operation within the United States, within the halls of what is supposedly their greatest ally. Well, Israel is not the ally of the United States whatsoever.
Did Mike Cernovich deliver this? Fuck no. Mike Cernovich is like a Trump loyalist. Did all those idiots that got the binders at the East Wing, did they have anything to do with this? Did Scott Pressler, did Rogan O'Handley, did Mike Cernovich, did Jack Posobiec, did any of those people, did Laura Loomer, did even one of those MAGA influencers compel the release of the Epstein files? No. That is because they are subordinate to Trump. They are dependent and contingent on Trump. They toe the party line. They work for him.
They do. No matter what, that is true. That is true. They are cultists. This is more of a religion than it is a political movement to some of those rigid adherents. And it's no different than ones that, you know, came up on the liberal establishment too. The Obama loyalist that said he could talk and do no wrong. He was such a great speaker. Always had the best things to say. He's, you know, the paramount example of a statesman. Things that the liberals said about Obama. This manifests in all sorts of political movements. It's why cult of personalities and tribalism is really so poisonous. Tribalism is about, you know, sweeping principle under the rug if it comes to it, in the adherence of a creed dictated by, you know, a unilateral figure with the unilateral autocracy, an individual power over the masses that he is supposed to represent. Well, that hasn't been true in the U.S. for a long time.
They don't work for you talking to him. They work for him negotiating with you. Don't get it twisted. So for all their talk, for them going and getting the photo op and they get their little access, they get their White House water bottle and their White House button, and maybe they even got a challenge coin out of it. They got their little photo op and they get to run their consultancy and say, look, I got my picture with the president. Give me $100,000. I'll get you a seat at the CPAC, at the gala, at the Reagan dinner, at whatever. Those people did jack shit because they work for the system. It was Thomas Massie that took the slings from all of Trump's loyalists. All of the planned trusters, all of these dipshits did nothing but attack Massie, undermine and criticize Tucker and Marjorie, while all of them were building up power on behalf of America first.
This is exactly right. I mean, Nick just sounds libertarian here. What can I say? You know, this is amazing. It's great to hear that. I know he's not. We have policy differences, especially on trade and some other things. But he's giving credit where it's due here, and it is due to Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene. He's exactly right. The Trump loyalists didn't deliver this. And what's to come from this is still up in the air. I don't think we're going to get all the answers that are true, just as we didn't in the Kennedy files release, obviously. But at the same time, it shows what's possible when a dedicated minority pushes back against the cult of personality when it's doubled down on disgraceful behaviors and cover-ups and protecting the deep state.
We have to remember who those people were. Who criticized Thomas Massie? Do you feel in charge? Thomas Massie got the Epstein files released. They brought attention to this issue, which is, this is maybe the most damning idea in politics today, which is that an Israeli spy, a Jewish spy with connections to the Israelis, to the MAGA group, to this Trump administration through Les Wexner. Les Wexner runs Ohio. Vance, if I'm not mistaken, got money from Les Wexner, as did Epstein, his business associate. Epstein, whose only remaining money in his estate is managed by Peter Thiel's venture capital firm. Who compelled the release of the files? It wasn't Trump, wasn't Vance, wasn't Charlie Kirk, wasn't all these dick-sucking MAGA influencers, wasn't any of them. It was Thomas Massie.
Well, it was. I'm not big on the vulgarity, but he's just correct in this. That is the truth. It was Massie. He was the one that they dragged specifically because he was doing this, because he opposed all the trillions of new debt in spending under the big abominable bill. It was because he objects to the Israel first mentality, and he said it's unconstitutional to strike Iran in a military offensive and create a new war, which also went against Trump's campaign pledges. It's because of that they targeted Massie. It's so clear to see that.
It was Tucker Carlson. It was Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, that they all make fun of, that they all have contempt for. Don't listen to them. It's us versus them. It's us versus the party. And the party needs to be punched in the fucking face. And that's what happened here. Thomas Massie, Marjorie Greene, Boebert, Mace, Tucker, they punched this stupid, treacherous MAGA movement in its fucking face and gave it a bloody nose. Trump came in True Social and said, we don't need your vote. If you care about Epstein or any of that, you're not with us. You're with the Democrats. And Thomas Massie said, okay, bet. We're with the Democrats. We'll sign a discharge petition with 214 Democrats, and we'll see what's in the Epstein files. That's the game we need to be willing to play.
Absolutely agree. I couldn't agree with Nick more on here. There's no clip that I think I've responded to that I've agreed with Nick more. That's actually true. That is conducive with actual America First principles, with getting to the bottom of corruption and not towing the party line when Trump deems it inconvenient just because dear leader said so. Guess who mimics that mentality? The North Korean regime and the people closest to Kim Jong-il and Kim Il-sung and, everyone in that dynasty. That's what takes place there, too. That's the mentality that Trump would have his base follow if it was, conducive to him, beneficial to him. Well, Massie said, no matter what you do, I'm not stopping. I'm relentless. That is what he did. And that could be done on every other issue, not just Epstein. That could be done on spending. That could be done on the surveillance state. That could be done on any amalgam of issues that could lead to a brighter future for America. But instead of that, people generally fall into tribalism. They attack the good guys, like Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Credit to where it's due with Ro Khanna, too. He's terrible on some things on my mind. He was great on this.
That's the game I was willing to play in 24 when I said, we're not going to vote. And the game I played in 22 when I said, we're going to make Joe Kent lose. This is about people power. This is about the white people that make up the base of the GOP, not to the exclusion of everybody else, but look, the GOP, 90% of their voters are whites. This is about whites. This is about Christians. This is about American nationalists, the far right, America firsters, saying we're going to take matters into our own hands. Trump, you don't pay us. You're not our boss. Neither is Mike Johnson, neither is Laura Loomer, and neither is Mike Cernovich. And we're done negotiating, we're done playing games, we're done holding our nose and voting Republican and the lesser of two evils. It's time to pound our fist on the table and say, it's our way or the highway.
Agreed. Nothing to disagree with there. I think it's actually more like 85% of Republican voters are whites and not 90% from what I've seen. But in either case, the point is made there. And it isn't just whites that supported the release of the Epstein files. All the Democratic base, has a lot of non-white supporting this release. So I don't know if that, is indicative of what happened here. There's a lot of people that aren't white that supported this, and I don't think you can give credit to the whites in the GOP. That's the only pushback I'll give. Otherwise, totally with them.
You've enjoyed the power and privileges for long enough. Where's ours? Where's our end of the bargain? So I love it. It's time to undermine the GOP. I said it in 2020. The GOP must be destroyed. Has to be utter. And yeah, they're going to say he's a Democrat. He wants the GOP to be destroyed. The GOP serves the interests. The GOP, as presently constructed, serves the interests, the special interests, the donors. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, as soon as you realize that both sides of the political establishment, the GOP establishment and the Democrat establishment, both serve the interests of the bureaucratic uniparty, the deep state, the military-industrial complex, the bankers, the bomb makers, the regulatory apparatus, a lot more becomes clear. You can just live in your prison in your mind. That's the left-right dichotomy, but that's not what this is about. It's about standing on principle. So yeah, I think that both major political parties should be dismantled and preferentially, in my mind, replaced by two better parties if necessary, or no parties at all, as the founding fathers originally didn't want, although that happened as early as the 1790s when the Federalists sprang up around Hamilton and Jay, and the Republicans sprang up around Madison and Jefferson. It might not be possible. It might be asking humans to fly to say there won't be political factions or there won't be political parties. But to the extent that it's possible to reduce them or minimize the politics on the basis of political tribes, I think is a good thing in the United States. And nothing shows that more than the Israel issue, by the way. When leftists and right-wing dissidents come together on that issue for America First, throwing all political orthodoxy and convention to the wayside, that's something I want to get behind. We need more of that and less Republican-Democrat tribalism.
It serves Silicon Valley and little tech. Palantir, Tesla, SpaceX, Anduril, Oracle. It serves Wall Street. That's why Ken Griffin gave them millions of dollars. It serves Miriam Adelson and the Israel lobby. This is who they work for. This is who selects the cabinet. This is who makes the policy. That's why they cut the corporate tax rate and they did nothing else. Why is it that for the left, it's like they don't even care about anything else. It just has to be open borders. And on the right, it's like they don't care about anything else as long as it's foreign aid to Israel and war in the Middle East and war with Russia.
That is true. It's the Israel first mentality on the right, open borders on the left, and that's, how they prioritize their issues. In general, that is the case. I would like to see that system ruptured, in which there are more voices, there are more choices, there are more debates, there are more conversations, despite the Zionists saying, hey, you can't interview Nick Fuentes, or you talk to Tucker Carlson. And Ben Shapiro called him a virulent super spreader of vile ideas. And Randy Fine called Tucker Carlson, of all people, the most dangerous anti-Semite in the country. It's not flying with the American people. It's not sticking. They're not going to get it to stick anymore. It's not working.
That's the kind of program that we need. And that's what they're terrified of. They're terrified that the left and the right are going to come together on the basis of stop supporting Israel, on the basis of close the borders, on the basis of restricting money in politics and the influence of the oligarchs. That's what they're terrified of. So this is the blueprint. We have to build on this.
Yeah, I'm totally with Nick on building on the blueprint, the lessons that this shows, defying Trump when it's conducive with principle and transparency and liberty and just basic human decency. The only part I'll disagree with him on there was when he talked about the ability to have this given up by the liberal establishment. They're not going to give up open borders, and the Republicans will never embrace open borders. But it is moving in the direction of Israel last, of opposition to Israel, of America first, not prioritizing this foreign regime over others. That's something the two sides, or at least the dissident parts of the two sides, can agree to. I don't know of any portion of the left that is willing to give up, the open borders mantra, or at least moving in that direction, let's just say. The establishment believes that. A lot of the dissident left believes that. Maybe not all of it. I'm sure not all of it does. That is the case. But a large portion of it does. On the right, a large portion of it agrees with the Israel first mentality. That's true. But more and more so, you're seeing the support for Israel peel away. I think that's something that they can unite on. I don't know that I see a path in the future where the left and right are going to unite on, opposing open borders and mass deportations or anything like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I don't see it compared to the Israel issue, where all the trends, all the polls are pointing in the direction that it's possible for people of multiple perspectives on the political spectrum to unite on that. That's for sure. That should be the priority. But what did you think? Do you think Nick's right about this? Does this show a blueprint for what's possible in Washington to get around the duplicity of Washington, to circumvent it, to undermine it? Even if it's Trump and the cult of personality that he's brought up around himself. Does this show success? Is it a blueprint for success in Nick's America First movement, or anyone that actually has America First in their priorities when it comes to considering the U.S. as compared to other entities and globalism? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also, if you like this video, please consider joining as a YouTube member. You can do that by clicking the join button down below. And if you do that, that'll help support the channel. I'll really appreciate it if you do. In return for that, I'll also give you all of my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. You'll be able to watch those members-only videos on my channel right away if you do, and I appreciate your support. And also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below. It'll shoot you off to a site, plug in your email, I'll send it right to you, no obligation, no cost whatsoever. I'll give you the PDF just because you're an awesome viewer, and I really appreciate it. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.